I don't get it. I just don't get it. Hey man, what's up? How the fuck did you get into my house? The door was unlocked. Of course it fucking was. But anyway, it seems like you're upset about something. Is something the matter? Well, I finally played Spyro Year of the Dragon. Oh yeah, I remember that game. I personally think Spyro 3 is not only the best game out of the trilogy, but the entire series as well. The fun vehicle levels, playing as multiple characters, and the final boss was great. Would you agree? No, I don't. Usually we do agree on something, but no. If anything, I think Spyro 3 is the weakest out of the trilogy. Gasp! You didn't say that. Tell me you didn't just say that. You know what? Yeah, I did. And for you to understand, why don't I play the game again just so I can show the audience why, in my opinion, Spyro 3 is the weakest. Wait a minute. What audience? What? You know. The audience? Why are you pointing at a camera? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I make YouTube videos now, and might I add, I'm a very successful one as well. Well, you just remember to keep reaching for the stars.
Spyro 2 received great positive feedback and proved itself that the Spyro series deserves to be taken seriously alongside with Crash Bandicoot. And of course, 1 year goes by and another Spyro game was released in Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon. What's really interesting about the name is around the time where the game was being released in 2000, what also happened was the Year of the Dragon Chinese Zodiac calendar, hence why this game is called Year of the Dragon. Some pretty cool thinking behind Insomniac's part. And thank God there is no name changes this time around, but the only changes are the cover arts, and Europe's version... Man, why do we always have to get the shit stuff? I've said this before that the last time I did play this game was when I was a little kid, and I always thought that this was the best Spyro game in the series. But now, after playing this game nearly 17 years later, my opinion about Spyro 3 has changed. Maybe it's because I've gotten older, or because the fact that I'm moving into Spyro 3 right after Spyro 2, but whatever the reason, let's just get stuck into it as we take a look at Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon. The story starts with the dragons having a nice sleep until Bianca, along with the Rhinox, steals all of the dragon eggs. Even though she steps on Hunter's tail and wakes everyone up, she still manages to escape along with all the dragon eggs. Which brings us to the main villain for this game, the Sorceress. She tells Bianca to stop anyone coming through and to hide all the dragon eggs. Back in the Artisan world, it's revealed that the dragon eggs are located at the Forgotten World. So because Spyro is the only dragon that can fit into the holes, it's up to him to rescue the dragon eggs and to stop the Sorceress.
As you would expect, the story is simple. Let's be honest, stories wasn't a big thing in video games back in the day, so I guess I can use this time to talk about the Sorceress. She fucking sucks!
The Sorceress to me is such a forgettable villain. You know how Ripto interacts with Spyro, making him a bigger threat? Well, the Sorceress doesn't interact with Spyro at all. It's almost on par with Gnasty Gnorc in Spyro the Dragon, how he doesn't interact with Spyro. And yeah, while the sorceress does have more time on the TV screen than Gnasty Gnorc, but not having her talking to Spyro face to face, she doesn't really come off as a major threat and more of a coward, which I'm pretty sure it wasn't Insomniacs' idea. So now we can start playing the game in Sunrise Springs. And man, this hub world brings back so many memories. We explore for a bit and speak to Bianca about the missing dragon eggs.
Those eggs belong to us now, and I've hidden them in places you'll never find in 1,000 years.
Well, that's a little bit awkward, because when she said that we'll never find a dragon egg in 1,000 years, we've already found one 30 seconds ago. So, what's your fucking excuse?
If I find you here again, I am going to be very angry. And you won't like me when I'm angry.
Oh Jesus, I think I found out that she's related to the Hulk. Everybody, run for your fucking lives! But anyway, it's time to begin the first level. So keen at the moment. Let's do this.
Is it just me? Or is there something really missing?
Well. Where to start on this topic? Let's start off by talking about one of the most boring and uninspiring transitions into a level in the Spyro trilogy. The first game actually sees Spyro gliding into a level, the second game has intros making each level more interesting, but this? All they have to offer is a fade in, a fade out, and that's it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Spyro 3 doesn't have the intros or outros, meaning that each level's story is now being told by some text. This is a huge downgrade to me, because there is a saying in life, and that is show, but don't tell. That is exactly what video games should stand for. They nailed it perfectly in Spyro 2, so why in the fuck will they break that rule in Spyro 3?
It just doesn't make any sense, as it feels like this game is going backwards when we should be going forwards instead. But don't worry guys and gals, because when it comes to any issues in a video game, I'm just getting started.
So the main objectives in each level is hearing about someone's problems, collecting as much gems and eggs as you can, and leave. The eggs are the main items to collect, and there are 150 of them to find, which is the largest number of items to collect in the trilogy. You can earn these by finishing the levels, finding them in your travels, or competing in minigames. While I'm at it with the level designs in this game are as good as ever. Nice details and nice visuals, but there is one complaint I have about them. Throughout each level, you'll see a few portals you can go in, and it'll take you to a minigame section. I hate these portals, as it just breaks up and ruins the whole level for me. And every enemy you come by is a Rhinoc, which means there's no variety with enemies as it's just the same ones. Kinda similar to green Gnorcs everywhere back in Spyro 1.
Or, I should say, green Gnorcs everywhere? Man, I really need to stop saying that.
The thieves make their return and they are just as annoying as ever. Not really much to say here, I've already talked about them before so I won't waste too much time. The soundtrack does sound really good, and it's just as you would expect in a Spyro game, especially if it's composed by Stuart Copeland. However, I feel that the soundtrack here is the weakest in the trilogy. That doesn't mean it's terrible by any means, but at times, it doesn't feel as Spyro-y as the first two games. Wait, is that even a word? Well, it is now. And plus, some soundtracks just repeat the same tracks in different levels. I haven't talked about other topics like gameplay and the controls because everything you know and love about them in Spyro 2 has applied to Year of the Dragon. The controls are still tight as you would expect, and the gameplay is, well, a mixed bag for me. The good side is just playing as Spyro, but the bad side is vehicle levels and playing as 5 new additional characters.
I'm pretty sure if you see most reviews about Spyro 3, then all of them would be trash talking on these characters. And if you think I'm gonna let them have a free pass, then you've got another thing coming, boy.
The way to unlock these characters is to grab enough gems and sell them to moneybags.
If you think the dingo doll joke was bad, then wait until I overdo it with moneybags.
The characters you can play as are Sheila the Kangaroo, Sergeant James Bird, Bentley the Yeti, Agent 9 the Monkey, and Sparks the Dragonfly. Sheila's gameplay sees you hopping around, and she can jump really high. She does get more character interactions than the others, so I guess she's probably my favorite character out of the 5. Sergeant Bird can fly, shoot rockets, and pick up and drop items. I'm not a huge fan of playing as him. His levels are tedious, and the way to control him and how he moves is fucking horrible. Bentley can use his ice club to bash up bad guys and use it as a fan to deflect the snowballs. He walks very slowly and he's really boring to play as. Agent 9 can strafe and use his weapons to shoot enemies. I fucking hate this character so fucking much. The strafing is not good to use and he has a lot of problems.
Dancer, isn't he? Not much stamina though. Too bad I had a lot more ammo left.
And even if it was a foreshadow for better things to come in the Ratchet & Clank games, then this wasn't a good way to represent it. Sparks' gameplay sees you in an arcade style, and if you complete it, you'll earn special upgrades for Spyro, like an extra hit point or collecting gems even further away. While this idea is not too bad, but I feel that the execution was a bit poor in my opinion, as this section feels like it should be in a Game Boy Advance game. These characters do break up the gameplay, but I feel that they just went too far on this one. They broke up the gameplay just fine in Spyro 2, but in here, it's just way too much, as playing the multiple characters can turn out to be a bit chaotic. What's weird is you can secretly play as Hunter, but only in the speedways. How come that wasn't the main focus? I would love to play as Hunter. Just replace all the 5 characters for Hunter and you're good to go.
If you really have to play as multiple characters, then if I was in Insomniac's position, I would give the gamer the option to play as 4 characters. Spyro, Sparks, Hunter, and Sergeant James Bird. Well, I nearly forgot his name, to be honest.
Spyro can do what Spyro does best, and we can keep the Sparks' gameplay. Sure, he'll be the weakest out of the bunch, but let's be honest, there's always going to be one. Hunter is very agile, so he can be used for some tough platforming, and as for James Bird, he can replace Spyro in the speedways. I'm not sure how people would feel about this, but I think because Bird can use his rockets to zoom everywhere and shoot objects, I think it would work well in my opinion. But since we're in reality, that's not the case. Well, I've already gone on long enough about these characters, so let's just continue on. The challenges and the mini-games make their return, and the creativity is sort of gone. They're not too bad, but most of them are not really fun, as some of them consist of going into a vehicle. Which brings me to the skateboarding levels.
Bread and butter? Cool. Pen and paper? Oh, cool. dragons? Skateboards? Yeah, they don't work really well.
I can understand why they added it in, because Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was really hot and they wanted to cash in on the idea, but I do not like this. I know some people out there do, and I do respect your opinion, but adding in a skateboard in a Spyro game just doesn't fit the game, and it feels like Insomniac is trying way too hard to add different gameplay styles. Speedways are fun as always, only this time it's more handheld and they tell you exactly what to hit in each order. And it kinda ruins the fun for me. And now, this brings us to the bosses. Every time you finish a hub world, the sorceress uses her magic spell to turn one of the Rhinox into a monster. The bosses are okay, but they're nothing too special or anything exciting to get into. And that really sucks, to be honest. And the final boss, the sorceress, is a disappointing final boss. It feels like they tried to have the same idea with Ripto's boss fight, but with vehicles instead. And also, the music in this part is the same one as the Sunrise Springs hub world.
And as you can see, once you beat the sorceress, she burns in lava, and we never see her again. You're fucking kidding me? First the lava can't kill Ripto, and now it can't kill this bitch? Man, lava sucks at video games.
Once you beat the sorceress, you get special cutscenes, including the return of Alora and the Professor, Spyro gets interviewed, and Hunter and Bianca fell in love. Wait a second! Wasn't Bianca a part of the sorceress team? Well, throughout the game, Bianca had a change of heart, helps rescue Hunter after being captured, and now they're in a relationship. Well, if there's one thing I can't complain about is two people falling in love. So congrats to them both, but be warned Bianca, because Hunter is a fucking retard. I'm pretty sure my thoughts on this game is an unpopular opinion. Am I the only person who thinks that Spyro 3 is the weakest out of the trilogy? Because everywhere I go on the internet and everywhere I look, I always see people talk about Spyro 3 being the best Spyro game in the trilogy. I'm not one of those types of people where I would argue with someone over something they like, but I don't. If you like Spyro 3 and consider it as the best Spyro game, then hey, I respect your opinion. So I guess my biggest problem about Year of the Dragon is from start to finish, it doesn't know what type of game it wants to be. At first, it becomes a collectathon platformer, then it becomes a third-person shooter, and then it becomes a flight simulator, or whatever hell this section is called, and it fails to progress further into the series when I think this game was going backwards. But, as much complaints and grumbles I've made, I can still see Spyro 3 as a good game. The gameplay is fun as you would expect, the speedways are handheld but very satisfying to complete, and the soundtrack sounds great. It's just the same Spyro game you know and love, only with more characters to play as, and I would be an idiot if I didn't recommend playing this game.
And that was the Spyro trilogy on PlayStation 1. A good beginning, a fantastic middle, and a mixed reaction towards the ending. And now, with the trilogy all said and done, what's left? Hold on a second. There's no one here. Bloody prankers. What is this? Oh my god.